How's it going, everybody? Welcome to The First Ones to Die. You might recognize that I am not Jonathan, who normally does this intro, and that's because, unfortunately, Jonathan is not here with us today. He had a prior
Rest in
engagement.
peace.
Yeah. But we are joined by a special guest, and of course, we always still have the lovely Alex with us, as
Yo,
always. Um, I will start with you, Alex. How are you doing today?
I'm tired today. It was a long day. I tackled some of my sister's dogs to the ground. They were fighting. That was my day.
Sounds like a challenging day in and of itself.
What about you, Jerome? How's your day going?
Going good. I got a bit of a headache, but I'm a power through for this movie review. Bars, and and I think other than that, it's been a pretty mellow day. Just had did work, went to my job today, so that's pretty much it. We are also joined by a special guest. Now, for those who listened to Behind the Usher Station, you recognize this person, but for those who haven't, and this is your first time being introduced to this smoking man in the bottom screen here, we are joined by our longtime friend Rob. Rob, how you doing today?
Howdy. I'm chilling, man. Thanks for having me again. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for jumping on so short notice for us. I feel
I
like that's how
was-
we get a lot of our guests.
Well, I mean, luckily for you, there's a global pandemic going on, so I don't really have anything else to do. I had time to watch a full fucking movie and come join your podcast at the last minute.
Yeah. That seems to be like the theme. It's helped for everything that you just need to do short notice
Yeah.
because nobody's going anywhere.
That's right. And speaking of quarantine, what better thing to watch in quarantine than a fight? But not just any fight, a fight between two titans. That's right. Today we're talking about Godzilla versus Kong. Now, this is the most recent movie in the Warner Brothers MonsterVerse. Some rumor to say this is going to be the last one,
I hope.
which I could see it. This movie is directed by Adam Wingard. It is also stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, among other names as well.
And I'm pretty sure Daniel Day-Lewis played Mecha Godzilla.
That man is a chameleon. He can play anybody. You never know
Yeah.
when Daniel Day-Lewis is going to show up because you're never going to see him coming. I mean, the man played Lincoln, for God's sake. That's
right.
That's a challenge in and of itself.
In what movie?
In
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Oh, I never saw the movie.
Yeah, he played Lincoln.
If I'm gonna watch a movie about a president, I want it to be like an obscure president that you forget was actually president.
It's pretty good. I mean, it was kind of a basic move, like biopic type thing, but it's Daniel Day-Lewis, so he
It
acted
was
his
no
ass off.
Abraham
I
Lincoln
mean,
Vampire Hunter. I can tell
I
you
was
that
like,
much.
I watched that movie.
I bet you did, Alex.
Yeah,
I bet you did.
Shut up. I still enjoyed it. I'm not gonna die. I enjoyed that movie.
Sure.
That movie gets to be in my book. But anyway, go on with your descriptions, Jerome.
But for those who don't know, well, I'm actually done. But for those who don't know how we do our reviews normally, is that we do normally an initial opening thoughts, just general thoughts, no spoilers, just to let you know how we felt about the film. Then we go into full spoilers. And we will let you know when that is. So when we hit that point, if you do not want to be spoiled for the movie, click off at that time. But for now, stick around. Here we, general thoughts. Maybe you might agree with us. Maybe you might not. Maybe we might give you some idea of if you're going to enjoy this movie or not. So who knows? So we're going to start with Alex. You go ahead. And what is your thoughts about this film?
The coloring seemed really off. Felt like they were trying to make it like techno color almost. Like everything
It felt
was
very a lot of like cyberpunky kind of
yeah,
bright
neon
neon vibes.
Going on.
Yeah, and I kept thinking, and I was just always like, is this the actual color of like the location, or
Of
how?
yeah, the whole time I was thinking, like, is Hong Kong really this like neon?
Right. And like I've seen videos of like people visiting Hong Kong and stuff, and like it is bright. Don't get me wrong, they do have a lot of lightage and signs that way, like that it's how they do their advertising. But it's just like I felt like there was so much purple too. I don't know why that kept popping into my head. As for the actual movie, I kind of enjoyed it. It's not something I'm gonna honestly probably go back to, but it was like a conclusion for the movies that they've created. I do think they need to stop there though. So I feel like that's how much I can say about it now without spoilers. But so we get more into the spoilers. I got more comments. Just
Rob,
right
what
now
did
it's
you
just a
think?
lighting.
This movie was bad. I think this movie was dog shit terrible, dude. But that's about what I expected from this. It's funny because when you were like, hey, have either of you seen this movie? Do you think you can like jump on the podcast for some thoughts? I was like, well, I got time. I'll watch the movie right now. And in fact, I was like, you know what? I've got so much time. I'll go back and watch Godzilla King of Monsters because I'm pretty sure I didn't see that one at all. So I went to play that movie and I got about like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes in when I realized, oh no, I have seen this movie. I just completely forgot it because it was that forgettable. And I feel like in about another 2 years from now, I'm gonna feel the same way about this movie.
What's weird is I actually really like Kong Skull Island. I actually enjoyed that one.
Out of all of them, out of all of this whole
Yeah.
like monster verse like
Yeah.
movies, I think Skull Island was the best one.
It's because the characters you remember, and not just
Yeah.
the monsters, the human characters you kind
Yeah,
of remember.
the human characters were way more
They were actually
relatable,
good and
and they
developed.
actually had stuff to do.
Mhm. I I I agree. I think this movie for me reminds me of watching Jurassic World and having the same arguments there too, where people would defend Jurassic World to me by being like, "Well, the dinosaurs fight though, and that's cool." And I'm just like, "Okay, but that's one third of this whole movie. That does not that math don't add up. 1/3 does not make up 2/3 of crap." So I'm not. So that's not gonna make me like this movie more just
There was
because
like
dinosaurs fight in it.
I want to
And
say
it's
it
the
was
same
a
thing with this movie.
there was a Simpsons like Halloween episode where they were making fun of I want to say it was Godzilla movies. And like the guy in the room monitoring Godzilla is like, "Oh my god, there's nothing we can do to avoid him. He's moving at 2 miles an hour per day, really. But we can't get out of his way. He's going to the densest city, but he's 3 days away." And that's what it kind of felt like with them coming together. It was like so many opportunities. Like you could have evacuated the city a lot quicker, or like there were so many things could have been done in the time frame that it took from him to get there. And it was just like, yeah, people I feel like just don't know what to do anymore. They kind of just let destruction happen.
I think
I
it's
want to
just
see what happens.
it's just I think the biggest problem with this movie is that the writers think that, I mean, and to a degree they are right, that all people want to see is the monsters fight, which is true.
I
I mean,
don't.
well,
I
what I
definitely
mean
don't.
is, I said to a degree because there are some people that's all they wanted was Godzilla and Kong fighting. The issue though is that those are two characters who don't talk, so they don't have dialogue to use. So
They
you
can't
have to
smack
make
talk.
human characters to connect the tissue together so we can have the monsters fight, but I actually have a story too. And they forgot about that because these characters in this movie feel so forgettable. I don't care about any of them, and honestly, I most of them I wish were gone. Like
Yeah.
for majority of the film.
I feel like the fights in this movie, the big monster fights, the thing that presumably people are like the only reason why this like franchise exists, the fights went on way too long for me. They were like not like I don't really care about like big CGI like monster fights. You know what I mean? Like I get that that's like supposed to be the appeal, but it just wasn't that interesting. It wasn't doing it for me. And then like when you go back to like the human like A and B plots, they're not interesting either. You know, the dialogue feels like really corny, unrealistic. The characters are annoying, and I didn't know what the hell Millie Bobby Brown was doing the entire movie.
Right? I was
Neither did I, and I
so
was
confused.
like,
I'm like, why is there just a child running around?
Yeah,
Why is
I-
nobody taking responsibility for her? She's a child. Nowhere should she be in this situation. Scientific lab, tech lab, anything. It was insanely dangerous for her.
it was just ridiculous.
Well, before we get too far in, so it's like general consensus. Rob, you thought it was bad. Alex,
Oh, yeah.
you're kind of like on the low end, but you don't think it's like bad.
It's
You
not
think
something
that-
I'm willing to watch a second time around.
Gotcha. And I'm pretty much there too, where I'm just like, it's not this. This felt like a very disappointing end to the MonsterVerse for me personally.
But it wasn't really a MonsterVerse. It was they didn't create a
They
MonsterVerse.
call it a
It was them.
MonsterVerse because it's Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, and now this like all of them tied together.
It's not a MonsterVerse
in
though.
one
It's just
universe.
it's two characters. It's not a real verse. It's just
Well, you know, the other Titans are around.
around. They didn't ever attempt to introduce them, or I think they hinted at them like a little bit in the last two movies, and that was that was like the ending credits or the post credit scene or whatever. I remember that from Skull Island. Definitely, they're like, "Oh, look at these scary monsters," and it's like that. You didn't really show anything other than that there are giant animals, which you know. We already know that because when Earth had a lot more oxygen, everything was giant. By the way, how are these things like properly breathing too? Because technically they're breathing our air. How do they have enough oxygen
Listen,
in our polluted air? Like
when
we've
you start-
adapted,
when you
but
start-
these are some things that have not been.
There are,
this
I think,
movie-
more important questions to start asking.
on
it.
top of that, I mean, this movie looks at science and just says, "I'm sorry,
Nah,
what is
fuck
that?
that.
It's science. What is science?
I'm
What do you
just
mean?
saying-
What is science? That's your
They
movie.
shouldn't be able to breathe.
You telling me you didn't read this whole book that just literally just says science on it? I don't know what science is. That don't exist in my movie. So.
I think at a certain point they honestly could have thrown like a computer mouse at somebody and said, "Shut up! This is science we're doing."
What is this Seance word that you keep showing me?
Your
Beyonce.
logic has no reason here. We're fighting monsters, which honestly would have been a way better line in some of those moments. Your logic
But-
doesn't matter. We're fighting monsters. Like there's a deal going on. Like, come on.
But we're getting so at this point we're gonna get into spoilers, y'all. So if you had a good time listening to our general thoughts, thank you for sticking around. I take with that what you will, just so you know we didn't like the movie. So I guess you're disappointed now. Regardless,
Who's disappointed? Like honestly,
whoever I guess wanted us to like it. I don't know if you like it. Good for
Did
you.
you? Did
I'm
people
glad you had a
ask you to
good
watch
time.
this?
No, but I just feel like there's someone out there
It-
who's
it
gonna
hits
listen
That's
to
good.
this
I mean, I'm glad
and then just be
'cause-
like,
you guys don't need those kind of fans. You don't need that kind of negativity.
I'm kind of with Rob on that one.
but yeah, we're gonna get into spoilers. But before we do, if you are gonna tune off, just want to let you know real quick. You know, if you do like what we do here and you've heard the other episodes or whatever, feel free to follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of the social medias and places at The First Ones to Die. We're always trying to update there with new content, video content, audio content, all types of stuff. So follow us there. Going into spoilers, I'm gonna start with you, Rob. What in detail?
No,
Do you
I
think
got
that
a
makes-
question.
Okay,
Sorry, Rob.
go ahead.
Was Godzilla like a robot or no? You say he was a Titan, but he was able to get short circuited by like that one character. I think his name was like Josh. I think, which stupid name. I hate the name Josh.
Well, that's
We
Mecha
got, like-
Godzilla, yes, but there's also Godzilla, like the real one. There's two.
Oh, that's right. But like I like kept mixing them up. I just kept thinking, I'm like,
Yeah,
hey, so is Godzilla real or not?
Mecha
Now?
Godzilla. That's I could see how that could be confusing.
Because
Well, to be
Mega
fair-
Godzilla wasn't actually that much bigger than Godzilla.
Well,
Mecha
no, because he's
Godzilla.
supposed to be like Godzilla. He's supposed to be the same size.
Then why are they calling it like Mecha? Mecha means like kind of like a god or something bigger, and this is
Mecha
like
like
No, Mecha
mechanical.
Why would it
as
be
in
mimic?
mechanical?
like a
Like a
mechanical.
robot.
stupid. I think Mecha like a church, you know, or like something
No.
godly.
No.
Mecha spelled
Are you
MECHA,
fucking kidding me?
not MECCA.
I'm sorry. Were they spelling out the word Mecha in front of me?
It was a
Like, this is how-
machine. It's a robot Godzilla, dude.
How much were you paying? Why were you guys paying so much more attention to this movie than I was?
That's just. I mean, it's just. That's just
I
the way it
couldn't, I
is,
couldn't.
man.
All I thought was like it was supposed to be
Mechagodzilla is
bigger
like
and better,
classic.
but like it was able to be brought down by like a bottle of liquor or flask or whatever.
No, it's Mecha.
I thought godly.
This is the funniest start to this movie.
I
God
thought
damn.
godly. That's where my brain went, and I was like, oh, but it just looks like Godzilla.
I mean, much like a god, he was giving Godzilla them hands because Godzilla was just getting demolished by Mechagodzilla. Like,
He was.
bad. There were points where in my head, I was just imagining Godzilla being like, for God's sake, someone help me. As he's being thrown into buildings left and right. Like Axel Foley out of in Beverly Hills Cop through a window.
That's such a
But
ridiculous. The whole thing was a ridiculous movie, and honestly, like, yeah, half of it didn't make sense. I don't know what they were like attempting to do, and they were just like in Antarctica and like Hong Kong and like these places, and it's like I feel like a lot of this research and a lot of this fight could have been done in like a desert, or like Hong Kong is a very dense location, but like a lot of the region there are like different fields, just like in America there's like the rice paddy fields, there's forests and stuff like that. That would have been a much safer place to fight.
Godzilla don't care about safety. Godzilla is like, he's like, look, I said we're gonna throw hands in Hong Kong. I don't care if there's people around. Get out the way, because I'm throwing these hands.
Godzilla.
I don't think that there was like a logistical like conversation between Godzilla and the people of Hong Kong. I think that just sort of just happened by circumstance.
I think it's more like Godzilla's like, look, y'all know I'm big, so if you see me coming, just move, because I'm not gonna stop. Like, who gonna make me stop? You? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's verbatim from
He was
the
also dripping-
Godzilla 2000 movie. I'm pretty
He
sure.
was also like he came from like the water too, right?
Mhm.
Like honestly, he could have just been electrocuted. He would have went down properly.
That's a
You
good
see,
question. They
Because
never
like he
tried to
was
electrocute
technically
Godzilla before.
stoked. So like he was just a big conductor.
Well,
Well,
no, leather skin. Leather's not a good condenser.
I like to imagine that.
But
Are you talking about Mechagodzilla, right?
I'm talking about all the animals. They could have just been electrocuted, honestly. My mind goes there. I'm sorry. It's just like you can shock them.
Why didn't we think about electrocuting the big animals? I think PETA would have had some serious words about
Oh, PETA can go to hell.
it.
I'm sure PETA would have done it.
So let me ask you guys a question. Was this movie art?
No.
It was somebody's art, as Jonathan would say.
I don't know if I would agree with that bullshit.
I mean, the CG. Here's the thing: the CG
But,
even is like okay at times, because there are a couple times where King Kong's fur didn't look right to me. And I think it's mostly when it was wet. Like, it just didn't look right.
It
in
looked
my
very
opinion.
like it didn't look like broken up or anything. It just looked like they kind of painted the fur on him almost when it was wet. It was really unanimated. Like they did such better animation in like Frozen. You could see like imagery in her eye, but they couldn't get the imagery for King Kong's fur proper.
We can't all be Pixar now, can we?
I thought Frozen was Disney.
That's true. Yes, Disney is different than Pixar. Disney wishes they were Pixar. It's why they bought them.
Well, Disney just wants to rule everything. Anyway, going on with this movie.
I think for me personally, the biggest issue comes into play that, like, because you have two plots going, because they need people for Team Kong and Team Godzilla. So you have like Team Kong, which is like Alexander Skarsgård, Rebecca Hall, and this deaf girl whose name I don't know, and I will look it up right now.
Yeah, I got it. She was one played by like.
She's Kaylee Hodel. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she played the little girl. So that's Team Kong, and then you have Team Godzilla, which is Millie Bobby Brown, Julian
what was she doing
Dennison, and Brian Tyree Henry. And both of those teams are the most useless group of people I've ever seen in a movie ever, especially Team Godzilla, because they didn't do anything. They just they show up. The only thing they did is basically just give us a reason to see Mecha Godzilla, which everyone knew was going to be in the movie anyway, because that was like people put up context clues immediately.
So what was Millie Bobby Brown's squad? What was their plot line? That Godzilla showed up to the Apex camp or site or whatever and started attacking it. And Millie Bobby Brown didn't like how the media was painting him as a bad guy. So she located this podcaster that had like conspiracy theory insider dirt on Apex to go infiltrate the compound and find out why he was attacking it. Was that the point?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty much.
Because and what made me laugh too is they infiltrate this compound that's a super top secret, but not top secret enough to have security on every level to make sure that just random people aren't just coming out the elevator.
The funniest thing for me is that this guy, the podcaster dude, he worked there, right? As an engineer. He was like,
right.
So presumably this guy's at least in violation of an NDA by talking about everything going on his podcast, right? Millie Bobby Brown was able to locate him day one by just like trying to figure out who was buying bleach, but this company's lawyers never even tried to look for this guy.
My biggest thing was I was like, before that, even when he's like, hey guys, I'm like a total whistleblower and I got this podcast, I was like, okay, but no one's listening, right? Because if you have a popular podcast, you have listeners, how is Apex not one of them? And also, I'm assuming if they are one of them, how has no one stopped you? You don't even disguise your voice, so they would know. Oh wait, he's the only black employee. Also, is definitely him.
He stays in really one location too, so it's like you can track a signal pretty easily, especially when you're outputting it. I mean, you can change stuff, but eventually you'll be able to be tracked. Why wouldn't you move around or be in a van or something to broadcast shit? Why are you
multiple questions?
Just
I don't mean to nitpick on this so easily, one guy but so hard.
We could pick on all of them. Again, let's discuss the terrible parents that allowed their child to run around a giant ape or whatever King Kong is.
To be fair, she's her adoptive mom. So in a way, she don't have full responsibility.
That's worse. You agreed. Parents get stuck with you because that's your child. You gave birth and you're stuck. But this person agreed to take the child and responsibility. So now you're worse.
My thing is, that scene when the little girl comes out in the rain and she puts her finger up and then Kong puts his finger to her finger. Does Kong feel that? Because I imagine that's like the equivalent. She's not even a full-grown adult. She's a little girl. That feels like the equivalent of you trying to touch a drop of water that's diluted into sand. Can you feel it?
Yeah, technically, I guess you can, because it's the little nerve endings, every little bit. How you're feeling? I don't know. I don't like how they also try to humanize the monsters in that way too, or make you have compassion for them, so you end up trying to root for one another. It just felt like every monster movie you've ever seen where they're oh, he's sweet to the little girl, so he can't be all that bad. He destroyed many homes and buildings. He has murdered people.
To be fair, Kong has only murdered, as far as we know, in Skull Island, he only murders Sam Jackson. The monsters kill everybody else that are just on Skull Island. And then they take him from there to it. So technically Kong's slate is clean. It's Godzilla who's got a body count.
You're about to call him I heard it. That's true too, I guess. But I mean, it's still technically a monster, and I don't know.
I don't know.
So
Rob, go ahead, Rob.
I was gonna ask because I just thought about it just now though. You know, we've been talking a lot about the human people, but I have a question for both of you actually. Did either of you have a set winner for this movie? Like,
Oh
based
man,
off
that's so
the
funny.
title?
I wanted to take bets, right? Like a real like fight night. You know what I mean? I wanted to start a pool going. I asked Cameron and everybody in his Discord, and they were not interested in it at all. They don't like to have fun. So I was kind of upset about it. I wanted to try to make some motherfucking money. I think I would have lost money though, because I think I would have voted for Kong, and he got his ass whooped in this movie.
To be fair, he did win one round, so they at least gave him one round.
You don't one
But he
round
did
doesn't
get beat.
give you the match. You don't get the title off of one round, Jerome.
I know. I'm just saying he did get beat though.
He got his ass. What they did, my boy Kong dirty, dude. I felt
They
so bad for
revived
him.
him in the end, right?
I mean, yeah, but he still got punked.
Especially because at the end, after they beat Mechagodzilla together, Godzilla's like, "Put the axe down. Put it down, unless you want these hands again." You remember how I
Yeah,
laid this
dude.
out first time? And Kong put the
Well,
axe down.
again, like
You right.
like Kong is cool and all, but also he's just a giant like ape. Godzilla has like the fire, like what is it,
Here's
electricity
my
Atomic
thing,
breath.
though.
Yeah, he can also like Godzilla honestly could have just carried Kong to the water, dropped him in the ocean, been like,
Yeah.
let's see you swim, and then
I mean,
swam away himself.
My thing is that I was like, because I was like, the water is, and which I'm glad they did address that. Like Godzilla obviously wins in the water because he can swim better than Kong can. Kong is used to being.
He's
on
got
land.
gills.
He's not used to being in water, so he can't function. But on land, I was like, all right, Kong has a chance on land because Godzilla's slow, and Kong can use tools. And my
yeah,
rationale
but Godzilla
was,
also has like his long tail that he has shown multiple times to whip around and just smack people with.
I mean, I'm just saying my thing is that the atomic breath thing, I was like, out of the many people in many humans who have a testimony that they've defeated people with guns using only their hands or maybe a knife or something, I was like, that means that Kong could probably get around atomic breath somehow with some type of tool in which he got an atomic axe.
But like really quick, like let's just take an average gun, even a shotgun. Bullets, like shells, are like maybe this big, and I think I have some hiding around here, are like this big. Godzilla's
big,
atomic breath is
listeners.
like huge. From like Google a shotgun thing, bullet, gauge, whatever. I'm trying to think of words and I can't. There you go. English is hard. A shell, and then look at Godzilla's breath. That's a very vast, big difference. You can't outrun that because it's just everywhere.
Proportionate to King Kong. You know, a shotgun shell is proportionate to a human. Atomic breath, Godzilla's atomic breath is proportionate to King Kong's size, who's enormous.
I still think he has a less likely chance to move out of the way.
Plus, I was thinking he was going to put Godzilla in a sleeper hold and clear and block his airways. Therefore, he couldn't breathe. So that would have been like an into that fight. But he never got a chance to do that, I guess. So it was kind of messed up. But nonetheless, yeah, they did establish a very set winner. Like, nah, Godzilla can beat Kong, but Mechagodzilla can beat Godzilla. So I guess it balances out in some way.
Mechagodzilla doesn't really count. He's man-made.
Yeah, but I mean, with the mind, that was what I was gonna say about the MonsterVerse is that this movie is the first one that is kind of like connected tissue past just Godzilla and King Kong. Is that King Ghidorah's skull comes up in this?
I thought that was the only legitimately like interesting thing that happened in the movie that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, because I thought I didn't know what they were gonna do with the after credit scene for King of the Monsters when they have King Ghidorah's skull. I was like, okay, what does that mean though? I mean, he just has his head. Is he gonna clone him? Because or what I thought was gonna happen was that they were gonna make, because there is also a Mecha King Ghidorah too, in like the old movies. So I was like, okay, is he gonna use that to make Mecha King Ghidorah for like another movie later? Because we know Mecha Godzilla's coming at some point. They use it to make Mechagodzilla now. So
this movie actually really reminded me of Batman versus Superman. Because you think there's going to be this cool epic battle and stuff, and then they find some weird, unnecessary common ground, and then they fight together.
I feel like this wasn't nearly as pretentious as Batman versus Superman.
No, but it was just as dumb.
Yes.
It was literally the same plot. There's a bunch of people in Batman versus Superman that didn't really need to be in there. They just were making the characters more human, that you didn't care about afterwards. And then it was just some stupid thing like, hey, the humans are dying. We should probably team up together to stop this other thing.
I think it's more just Godzilla was like, I am getting my ass whooped. I need help. Look. All right, I know we fought in the past, but listen, all right.
But I was just playing, though.
If you help me out, all right,
Yeah,
I'll
but
leave
you know
alone,
what?
I swear.
No, because again, Mega Godzilla was beating both of them, and it wasn't until that like dude dropped the liquor and like short circuited her a little, and that's what brought him down. So it wasn't even the monsters.
No, well, I mean, he was still giving him a good hard time until Kong got the axe. That was like the finishing blow because he had a
It
weapon.
was already like broken down a bit.
A little, but he was still
He
pretty
got
handsy.
short circuited. So who knows what if he would have gone back to his like full
Can I just say,
hardcore self?
as stupid as I think that podcaster dude character was, I do think that the idea of carrying a hip flask full of whiskey in a gun holster is pretty baller. That was a pretty baller move.
I will give you credit for that.
That was a neat. The thing is, I feel like I love Brian Tyree Henry is a great actor. He's been in amazing things. He was in Joker, small part in Joker. He was in Spider-Verse as Miles Morales' dad. Like he's been in good stuff. He's in Atlanta. And I feel like they wasted him here. Like and more importantly than that, his character cancels out the reason for Julian Dennison to even be here because both of them are supposed to be comedic reliefs, and Millie Bobby Brown's supposed to be the straight person. And I'm just like, one of y'all don't need to be here. I don't need this many jokes, especially when all of them are bad. So one of y'all's got to go. It's ridiculous.
All this really just didn't need to happen. Let's be honest. They've tried to redo King Kong. I don't know how many times.
Twice.
No, there have
This
been
is
earlier.
the second time. There's the first one was the Peter Jackson one back in the 2000s, and ever since and before that, it was just old movies, old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's like old versions of King Kong and stuff.
I mean,
and,
that's
like,
true, but
They've been bad movies too, other than the original one. It's just like it just gives me so much of the Batman and Superman vibes that it's to the point where it's like, you guys need to let these characters go. There's apparently other Titans, there's other monsters. Use them. There are other.
They
there
did.
are other
They
weapons.
put them all in King of the Monsters. All the ones you know.
that we
All
know.
three of them.
Isn't there more though?
Yeah,
but
there's a
they
lot
suck.
and a lot
Then
of.
why don't they use them?
I
They
mean,
suck, but look at this movie. Did this movie help anybody? Did this movie win a
But
gold
you're
star?
willing to watch this one because at least you know who Godzilla and Kong is. You do not know. Name any of the
but then
other
you end up just
lame
getting a
kaiju that aren't the famous ones.
No, I watched like
Gamera.
really crappy.
Okay, that one's a
movies.
good one. I'll give you that one.
No, I like seeing movies where I've never seen like the monster before, and it's like, in fact, it's something new because all people really were expecting from this movie was to come criticize it. I don't believe anybody was coming to watch this movie to be like, yeah, Godzilla and King Kong, we're gonna see the fight. No, they're coming to see how they fucked it up. What new horrible way did they destroy King Kong and Godzilla? What did they do wrong this time?
I'll have you know, people liked Godzilla King of the Monsters because all they wanted was the monsters to fight. So I know
Well, people
there are
also like the
people-
Snyder cut, so you
Yeah, I
can't
mean,
trust
that's
shit.
true. But
that
I'm just
anybody
saying,
says.
people. I'm sure there are people who wanted to watch this movie. All they wanted was Godzilla and Kong to fight. They don't care.
And
about the
they
human
were
characters.
disappointed.
I wish you guys had called me for your Snyder cut episode. I have a lot of shit to say about that one. The whole time I was watching Godzilla versus Kong, I was just thinking, man, I'd much rather be watching Shin Godzilla. I haven't seen that, but that's like an actual like good Godzilla movie. And like how you're saying about like all of these older like all the other like big kaiju monsters from like the Godzilla franchise. I think it's interesting how like this whole like MonsterVerse like Legendary Pictures like Godzilla franchise. They just take literally all of the worst parts of like the Godzilla movies and then they just cram them into one big 2 hour like CGI spectacle. There's no depth or nuance from like the original films, like the original Godzilla, how that was like a commentary on like nuclear warfare, and Shin Godzilla, how that's a commentary on like the government. There's no like depth to this movie at all. It's just big monkey fight big lizard monster. And
And I absolutely agree with that.
I just think it's garbage. Like it was just like so like hard to watch because I felt like there was like nothing was happening. You know what I mean? Like even like the whole time it was just like one big like blink. Like I felt like I was watching white noise basically.
And that's like a big thing that what's wrong with it is because maybe people were excited to see the King Kong and Godzilla fight, and like I was excited to see that too, but that wasn't the plot of the story at all. That wasn't even the end goal of this movie.
And it wasn't even really all that interesting, I don't think.
They like pushed each other around and maybe threw a few punches in a headlock. But like, that wasn't what was occurring. Like if people were excited to see the fight, they didn't get the fight. They got them, holding hands at the end trying to defeat a common enemy. And like the 2/3 of the movie was just those humans running around being like, what are we going to do? We need to do science, but not real science. And let the monsters figure it out on their own. But everything will be saved by short-circuiting out the monster, with liquor.
Let's talk about that science real quick, because one of the things that bothered me the most about the science
was no
that
science.
Because in the first movie, and referencing to your point, Rob, too, is that I think they learned the wrong lessons from the first Godzilla movie that came out earlier to start this whole universe thing.
2014 Godzilla.
Yes, because that Godzilla did try to be like have a little bit of commentary about nuclear testing and government secrets and all that stuff. And people didn't really like it. Their complaint was there wasn't enough Godzilla in it. We wanted to see Godzilla fight monsters, but we spent the most of the movie talking about nuclear crap. Like, we want to see Godzilla. And so they're like, oh, so you don't care about plot. Okay. Well, then, then we got Godzilla King of the Monsters. And that's why that movie was no plot, all monsters.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe. But
so, but the thing about the science though is that in that movie, the science in that movie is somewhat plausible. It's on the level where you're just like, I can kind of believe that some of this is possible, and the creation of Godzilla is or at least rather why Godzilla's pissed and powerful kind of makes sense. But in this movie, they have like hover cars with like neon like engines and stuff, and I'm just like, what world are we in? You expect me to believe this is the same universe?
Yeah, they just leaned real hard into not giving a crap about like realism or like nuance or commentary, and just like went straight for, this is a crazy, wacky monster fighting world with a whole nother monster fighting world underneath the world that we live on.
Yeah, there's a whole Earth underneath Earth that you could just hang out in.
There was already a Brendan Fraser movie like that, Journey to the Center
of the Earth,
or Center Earth, after Jules Verne.
I mean, that movie,
which that one was way better. If you're gonna go to the Center of the Earth, that one was cool. It did have a dinosaur even, and like its whole ecosystem, and like that one I believe more than what was going on here.
Well, the Hollow Earth theory is like a real theory or whatever, but at the same time, like, which I don't believe it, but I'm just like, at the same time, just like, yeah, but you're trying to put this, like, introducing this now. This is something, if you're in a universe, you don't introduce this in your last movie. You introduce this in like the first one. So people know, like, oh no, there's that thing. Imagine if we, like, all this time, like, Thanos in the Marvel universe has this enormous army, all these resources, and is mega powerful, and you don't find out who this character, you don't even know this character exists until the end of Endgame. Not Infinity War, Endgame.
Well, I was thinking, I'm like, they presented Thanos, But they actually never showed Thanos' army until that one clip where he's
But
on
they always
Gamora's planet,
established that he
where
was
they had that.
that he was coming. You know, that he was a big deal for some reason. And then they
Where
were like, in
was his
Infinity War,
army?
you're gonna see. Well, I mean, they did show the army. It was in the first Avengers movie. That's his army, the Chitauri army.
Like,
Those are his forces.
no, yeah, but but where were they? Where were they after that?
In
Space.
just hanging out. You know, space.
That was a crappy army.
Wait, where was who? The Chitauri army from Avengers 1?
Thanos' army.
Thanos' army consists of like a bunch of different armies from like different cultures that he's
Right.
enslaved
No,
throughout the
I'm
galaxy.
yeah, but I'm like saying, where were they when he was fighting the Avengers? Like he could have gotten those Infinity Stones, and like everything could have been cleared up. Like he could have killed people just a lot quicker with an army, and because they showed he did have an army when he was on Gamora's planet. They separated the people, and they're the ones who did the killing. And so where were they when they were like fighting the Avengers? Because like honestly, one person could have just pinned down like Peter Parker, Star-Lord. The only real threat was like
They showed up.
Iron
Well,
Man.
you haven't watched Endgame, have you? Yeah.
No.
You haven't seen
still-
Endgame?
You still
No.
haven't watched.
You guys have a
They
movie
show up.
podcast and you haven't seen like the largest like cinematic
I've
like
seen
moment.
like so many spoilers for it, and I know who's dying.
I mean, at this point,
And it
Alex,
gets-
though, like you have Disney Plus, we could just watch it. We could watch it together if you want.
Have you guys not done an episode on
that was
Endgame?
before we started.
Yeah,
the podcast.
that was way before we.
Oh, I see.
Started back up the podcast. We were on hiatus at that point. Yeah.
I see.
No, I think it was even before. Well, why? Where were they in the beginning? The point is focus.
I can't really like talk to you about. I can't really like try to explain it away without giving away like spoilers for Endgame.
Look,
I think you
it's
should
been
just
like
watch it.
4 years now. I know all the spoilers. I know who's dead and alive.
So like
all the sad scenes.
I think the point was that he wasn't trying to like because like his whole idea is that he wanted to like just get the stones and then like blip half of the like existence away and then wipe his hands clean and like go live on a farm. That was like the whole thing. He didn't think he needed to like take a whole like one planet by force because like he's done it a million times, you know, he's like so arrogant. He's like he whooped the Hulk's ass first scene of fucking
Infinity War.
Infinity
That I
War.
remember.
Yeah. So, you know, he probably didn't think he needed the whole army. And then whenever they like killed him, spoilers in Endgame, and then he like came back the second time, he was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to kill you all. Big army. Here we go. Splash page.
Splash page. It would have been a splash page.
That's what it was. Yeah.
But anyway, like leaving from our Avengers review, mini Avengers review back into Godzilla and Kong.
Do you guys think this movie, Godzilla versus Kong, would have been better in 4:3 aspect ratio?
No, I don't.
You don't think so? What
I
about
don't
black
think
and white?
anything could have
I don't
made.
think the Snyderverse needed to be a 4:3 aspect ratio either.
I don't know.
Oh,
I
you don't?
maybe getting Kong thrown at you through a movie screen would have made you more into the movie. I don't honestly know. I don't think anything would help this movie. It honestly looks like a parody of King Kong and Godzilla. It doesn't actually look like the movie. It looks like a parody, and everything's in neon. And
Well, it is. It's an American parody of the
It's
original,
a
Toho
remake.
films.
It's a remake.
Yeah, it's garbage.
Yeah. No, I mean this looks like a straight up parody you see in like skits on like SNL or Mad TV or something. I've been watching Mad TV on YouTube. I missed that show.
That's unfortunate.
It was a fucking funny show.
Mad
I
TV is
love
great. I
Mad
don't know talk about Mad TV.
That
screw you in
TV
there.
makes me a little uncomfortable. It's all, some of that stuff.
Good. It's the uncut SNL. That's what it was supposed to be. It's
No,
uncut.
I'm
guess
talking about Mad
so.
TV.
Stuff that
No.
SNL
What I
can never
noticed,
do.
the only thing I noticed about Mad TV that was actually different from SNL was that Mad TV had characters, specific characters that they would put in different situations. SNL just does like skits. Like they do one with like I think it's Bill Hader, and I forgot somebody else he plays like the King of England or the Prince of England and Queen Elizabeth, and like they meet whoever and they act all like
They do impressions.
yeah. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of impressions, and SNL's a lot of skits, and their characters are just in this like one scene or this one kind of act all the time. As Mad TV constantly put their characters in like different scenes, different situations, and even had them interact with each other. And that was actually pretty interesting to see. But again, this movie looks like a parody of those two. It's bright colors that look like some teenage girl's Instagram. Like they chose a certain filter that didn't fit properly.
You're saying this movie looks like if Mad TV decided to do a Godzilla movie?
More SNL.
see.
SNL has the bright colors.
Mm.
I will say SNL does have better lighting than Mad TV.
Well, I'll agree that I think this movie was phoned in. Felt very phoned in.
Very. I mean, like, because Millie Bobby Brown's only in this movie because she was in the last movie, but in the
because she will bring people to the movie. People want to watch stuff with Millie Bobby Brown in it.
probably.
Which is sad because she's actually a very good actress, and she's like, I think she is. I've seen her in other stuff.
I haven't seen her in
in
anything other than Stranger Things.
She's in that new Sherlock. Well, Enola Holmes. Let me put some respect on it. Enola Holmes show that's on Netflix, and she's in this. And I think she's in one other thing that I can't remember the name of right now. But I'm not gonna lie, she's not getting it in this one. She was barely good in the last Godzilla movie.
I found her character really annoying in this movie. Actually, I don't think that's a problem with Millie Bobby Brown. I think it's just like the material gave her nothing to work with.
Honestly, forgot that she was in the last Godzilla.
Yeah.
I don't think I remember. You recently watched it, right, Rob?
I watched about 15 minutes of it today before I realized I'd seen it already.
I'm trying to remember because I actually think I'm mixing up like Godzilla and Cloverfield. I'm like, do you actually see Godzilla or do you just see like bits of him? They're trying to until like
he's in this movie.
In King of the
Monsters. I think I'm literally putting like scenes of Cloverfield into that movie, and you don't really see Godzilla until the.
That's a better movie. To be fair,
yeah, because it was
if
like
I
all
had
the monsters coming together.
If I only had space in my brain for like one of these movies, I think I'd make more room for Cloverfield than any of these Godzilla movies.
I think Cloverfield was actually pretty good up until like the baby wasp things being born in the subways.
Oh,
I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
I thought it like, how'd they get down there?
In a movie where a giant monster just appears in New York without any question, that's not the question on my mind. Is how the wasp got
he was literally just stomping around. All of a sudden, there's like
it's a subway
everywhere on the subway.
They went down the stairs. They got a ticket.
He couldn't go down the stairs.
They got a ticket.
$1.25. They went through the little rotary thing that counts how many people go into the subway every day. They got their newspaper and their bagel.
Wait, so that mean the Cloverfield monster was a female and she just wanted to look for a safe place?
No, it's like a dog that with ticks, you know, J.J. Abrams, I think, like talked about it in like interviews where like concept art behind the whole thing was that like Cloverfield monster was like a puppy, right? And those little monsters were like ticks that were like living on its surface, right? You know, on its skin. Just like eating its like skin or whatever. They were just like little ticks that were like getting shaken off of his back.
I still want to explain to me how they got into the subway and got onto the ceiling.
They got a ticket.
And how they got their
stuff like Black Dynamite. Remember that scene in Black Dynamite? How'd you get in here? I walked in. That's how.
Yeah, but that one actually made sense. He was like, I just walked in. Same way they just went through the elevator.
They walked
I don't think that this is as big of a loophole as you think it is.
I'm not saying it's a loophole. I'm just saying I want an explanation.
They walked in.
When's the last time you saw this movie?
Explanation.
Actually, it was like a year ago.
Wow.
We were watching stuff on Netflix. And I was like, Cloverfield, actually, we saw it in theaters and I ended up with a panic attack because of the moving of the camera, the constant like handheld shit like triggers that for me sometimes. And like after the movie, I had to have my head between my legs. And my mom's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. She was like, did you get scared? I'm like, no, the fucking like handheld camera. And she was like, are you going to be okay? I'm like, I think I might vomit.
What do you guys think wins in a fight between Godzilla and the Cloverfield monster?
Godzilla, because he has atomic breath, and the Cloverfield monster has to hit everything.
What about the Cloverfield monster at the end of the God Particle movie? No,
Oh,
not
that one.
Cloverfield.
That one is bigger, so maybe it might be able to kill Godzilla.
It's fucking
probably
massive.
bigger than Godzilla.
It's
That
huge. It pierces the skyline, goes up into the clouds, dude.
Yeah,
It's a
so
huge fucking monster.
Maybe that one has a chance to beat Godzilla. It's much bigger.
Yeah.
Doesn't that one also have like a beam of light that is with him or comes with him or
No, I don't think
No,
I don't
they
think it
just
has
smash
any
stuff.
special powers.
one of them? I think maybe it was like Cloverfield Lane at the end. It has like a
They
beam of
have
light
they
with
have
him.
monsters too, and they're different and stuff. But
I feel like the monsters in all the Cloverfield movies were not consistent.
Yeah, well,
there's only two.
the movies were inconsistent with
there
each
was
other.
I mean, like
Cloverfield, Cloverfield
I mean
Lane, and then
monsters. There's the Cloverfield monster in both, Cloverfield Paradox and Cloverfield, and then there's the alien type monsters in Cloverfield Lane. There's only two types of monsters so far.
wasn't it all just supposed to be really one monster
No,
that appeared out of nowhere?
it's meant to be. It's intentionally ambiguous. The movies aren't really even like linked except through like little lines of dialogue throughout each movie. Like
Mhm.
I think that they're never were really meant for. It's actually really interesting. There's a podcast that I listen to that specifically talks about Cloverfield for some reason, but like all of the Cloverfield movies are made independently from one another until J.J. Abrams gets a hold of them and decides that these are Cloverfield movies. Like usually he has nothing to do with the writing process or like the production up until he decides to attach himself as a producer, and then
In
he
fact,
ties
there
them
were
in
rumors.
retrospect.
In fact, there were rumors that Overlord, the Nazi zombie movie, was supposed to be a Cloverfield movie.
If he wanted it to be, it could have been. There probably was a moment
Wait,
where he
which
was
movie?
thinking about it. Overlord,
Overlord.
is like Nazi zombie movie.
Oh,
I don't think I
seen
know
the
anybody that
posters.
saw it. I
I
don't think
I loved that movie.
I
That was
well,
really good. Too bad nobody saw it.
yeah. Maybe they would have if it was a Cloverfield movie.
Maybe, I don't know. I think the marketing just was the marketing was really ambiguous as to what it was really about. It wasn't clear if it was
Well,
just, about
it's
just a
hard.
monster, one zombie, or if there was a bunch of
It's
zombies.
hard to
It wasn't
market
very clear.
something that has Nazis in it without accidentally making it look like it might just be promotion for Nazis.
No,
Well,
it's
it's just
not. Ask every person who's made a Wolfenstein trailer for those games. They make it very clear we are just murdering Nazis left and right. This is not in
It's just-
support of Nazis. For
it's
this,
just hard to
for
get
this
people to
game.
watch movies that are original and not tied to like another IP. Everything
true,
has to
too.
be franchised right now.
I think what it comes down to is the fact that we just started talking about Cloverfield with more respect than King Kong versus Godzilla.
Well, it was a
And
good
the
movie.
fact that even though those movies aren't technically linked together, but only because of J.J. Abrams, that they are better linked together than
Yeah.
these other movies. And you know what? They have more of a right to say Monsterverse than King
Yeah.
Kong and Godzilla because, again, only two monsters. You have the Titans, yes, and you have all of them, yes, but you only show two. It's like saying it's the Justice League and it's Batman and Superman.
The rickety world building haphazardly thrown together through like online ARG websites is better than everything that the Monsterverse has done.
Well, you know what the problem with why this doesn't feel like a connected universe that's at worst is because they don't. If you can't make original, interesting, fun human characters, then at least bring back the ones that people did like. Like, why is Tom Hiddleston from who you like from Kong Skull Island not in this movie? Why
Because that
is
took
none of
place
the
in the
soldiers?
70s, right?
I know they'd be old, but at least they'd be fun to have, or at least reference them or something.
That's true. Like he could
They're
have
not
done
here.
like watched an old video of like Tom Hiddleston talking about something, and he's also like a very big actor. He's a
You could have put
very
John C.
well-known-
Reilly in all these fucking movies, but
Right.
they had to make it a period piece.
Yeah, none of these movies I would actually watch for just for like, hey, there's this actor. I really want to just watch it because it's them. Like, there's not a single actor like that either.
Well, it's
I think
because,
that's
like,
Millie
Aaron
Bobby
Taylor
Brown
Johnson
for
in
these
the first
people.
Godzilla
Because she's
movie.
from like I don't like her. I don't watch Stranger Things. I don't
Yeah,
like
okay.
it.
Well, you're the only one. Is the thing. You're the only one who isn't. Everybody else in
Actually,
the world.
I've hopped off the Stranger Things train. I don't want more Stranger Things at this point.
Look, I don't like the
My-
80s. I don't like 80 movies, and this just Stranger Things always looks like
I mean, that's
It's
fine.
nothing but like a big reference to the 80s, and it's just
The
like,
last
oh,
season
sorry.
was the first two are pretty good though, I think.
Yeah, the first two are really good, like
Um,
television.
The third one is where it starts to feel like 80s parody.
It gets a little derivative, yeah.
There's a dude who literally looks exactly like the Terminator, has barely any lines, and they literally say in dialogue, "Oh my god, he's the Terminator." I'm just like,
I feel
really?
like
Like
It was that whole like advertisement for Coca-Cola in the middle of like the action that really
that
did it for me.
too, the new Coke thing.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I just feel like because I'm like Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's in Godzilla, or Elizabeth Olsen, both of which, well, not Aaron Taylor Johnson, but Elizabeth Olsen, who has been in Marvel movies, she would have been a good person to pull into this somehow or whatever. Like
she's
all I'm
been
saying
busy
is,
doing WandaVerse.
I'm just saying is when you have all these characters or whatever, and you make all of them always forgettable with every movie. No, we're not going to feel like any of this is connected. It doesn't matter that the monsters are in it because the people that those monsters are connected to don't exist. In this movie alone, we're introduced to a whole new group of characters just for Kong alone that we don't care about. That's a problem.
John
In a plot.
Goodman's still alive, right?
No, he got eaten.
Oh, did he in the movie? I thought it was.
He got eaten by a skull crawler.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I was like,
Sick.
oh, if John Goodman was still alive, I'm like, he's aged.
Was that in Skull
Yeah,
Island?
Skull
That was in Skull
Island. I
Island.
was
That
like,
dude's dead, dude. That
yeah,
dude,
he was
even
dead.
if he didn't get eaten by a monster, he would have
Didn't
been dead.
he die? Wasn't he the character that died because the camera kept flashing? They kept telling one character, hey, stop taking fucking flash photography. Like, it's literally causing the monsters to come up from the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
him, right?
That's how he died. Yes.
That's how he died. Yeah, I remember that death because I was like, that's so stupid.
What
By
did you
the
guys
way,
like
you were
about?
also in the sun. You didn't need the flash.
What did you guys like about this movie or this franchise in general?
Honestly, I did like the fights. I go only because I thought in my mind, I'm like, these aren't. It's not like the old school Godzilla and Kong where there's people in suits. These are animals. So they fight like animals. Like Godzilla uses claws, and Kong
And then he grabs an axe.
uses his fists to like hit stuff. And if he has a tool, he'll use it. But if not, like he jumps on buildings like a gorilla would. Like they fight like animals, and I was like, that's really cool to make
Until
them kind
one
of like
grabs an axe and the other one uses his magical fire breath.
I mean, yes, they're special animals, but nonetheless, they are animals at the end of the day. If people can use that argument for Jurassic Park, I'm using that argument for this. These are the one's a gorilla and one's a big lizard.
I
right?
think that, man, these like monster designs are classic, but like so dated. Like you can tell that these are like based off of character designs that had to be made off of like dudes in rubber suits, or like claymation.
Yes, but I like fat Godzilla because
I do too. It's classic.
A lot thinner. I like him being like chunky in this. Where he's
It's just hard to be scared of like a big puppy dog Godzilla. He looks a little bit like he's got like a snout.
Well, no joke. There's a point in this movie where he's like beating the crap out of Kong, and then he smiles. I swear he smiles, and I'm just
He does. He does.
I'm sorry, is Godzilla enjoying this? He's like, yeah, you like that? You like,
I thought the
hey,
coolest
don't king
parts.
shame Godzilla. Don't king shame him.
I thought the coolest parts of like the last movie, King of Monsters, was like when you see like Ghidorah just barely off in the distance, and he's like got this like gargantuan scale compared to like the human characters. Like that is like it's like the whole like what the fuck is that? This is a world full of monsters that could be cool, and then you have Big Monkey, like just big monkey fight.
Well, the thing too about Kong versus Godzilla is that the original concept was mostly just that like Godzilla's the big monster in Japan and King Kong is the big monster in America.
Yeah.
And it was like in the American film market, there are like no other monster movies, at least none like King Kong. And in the Japanese market, like they had some, but Godzilla's like the number one dude. So it was kind of like almost like both a clash of cultures as much as it was characters, just movie characters. In this, it feels kind of cheap because Americans made the Godzilla movie and Americans made the Kong movie.
Yeah.
So it feels hollow in that way.
I would have loved to have seen a movie that was like King Kong versus Shin Godzilla, you know. I think that would have been way more interesting, way better. And if you had like somehow, if you could somehow get like Toho Legendary to collaborate on a single movie, I think that would have been a much more like interesting, much better use of like resources, time, and money, you know, than this
Yeah.
flaming dumpster of a movie.
I think it would have been fun if they had done like because if they wanted to build a universe, right? I'm like, okay, but that implies that buildings aren't being destroyed every other week with these with these creatures running around. And so it's just like, here's the thing. Like, I think it would have been fun if they had made a live action version of the Godzilla series on Netflix in which it's far in the future and humans have left Earth because there's too many monsters and they keep destroying the planet. And it's just like, look, at this point, we can't live here. All right. Godzilla's feet are about as red as stiletto heels right now because it's just covered in the blood of many people he stomped on, just fighting whoever comes up this week. So
Oh man,
I'm not. I don't. He walks around like when you do when in the floor sticky at the movie theater. All
you
right.
just kind of reminded me of my biggest gripe with this movie. I understand. I was actually thinking the same time, like, you know, like these monsters have been around for 3 movies now, or 4 movies, and they're blowing shit up like left and right. Cities are getting demolished in every movie. You'd think that they would like try to do something about that. That life would be different in some way. And really, it seems like the only difference is that some private like for-profit company decided to make a big mecha Godzilla in answer to all of these big monsters roaming the earth.
Back to that, by the way, of like the fact that there's this organization dedicated, like that's trying to build this mecha Godzilla. No securities around to stop a teenage girl, her teenage friend, and an employee who should have been fired a long time ago from just walking in to like the death pits even and just seeing everything. But more importantly than that, their boss is the most stereotypical villain. Who would work for this man? He literally takes time to monologue at them at one point. He's just monologuing.
Yeah, he's literally just like full like stereotypical supervillain. But I mean, like, I don't know. I like it's clear that Apex is supposed to be like the CEO of Apex is supposed to be like, you know, big supervillain, right? But like
That's
the main
joke.
character,
But everybody else sucks. So
you know
the
what
joke
really
doesn't
bothers
land.
me about calling it Apex 2? Because like mimicking the game, it's like when a guy calls himself an alpha.
that's
Like,
literally
yeah,
it.
I'm
Yeah.
totally an alpha. Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
They could have
No.
changed the name to Alpha and it would have been the same
It would
thing.
have exactly. We're the Apex. Oh my God.
But so like, okay, so
No.
my biggest gripe of this movie is that like the guy, the CEO, whatever of Apex, obviously the like obviously doing a bad thing because Mechagodzilla was like the final actual bad guy, but not really directly through Apex and like their need to make a big nuclear like monster. Like so Skarsgård and like Team Kong, the whole their whole plot is to get Kong to the world, the hollow earth underneath the surface, so that they can steal some sort of power source to power the big nuclear weapon that they're building, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's their whole point, right? That's the heroes, like the main protagonists, like that's their journey through this movie
Yeah.
is to make a big
it's
nuclear weapon when
it's
this
like
movie is
50-50.
Okay, but you got to remember really quick. This was all made by Americans.
yeah, I know.
It's
I
like
just
a
think it's
literal thing for.
I'm aware. I just think it's despicable how that is the point of this movie, built off the back of a movie that's like that is completely about like the original Godzilla is about how nuclear weapons are bad. The whole point of this movie is that we need to build a nuclear weapon.
You know what I just thought of though? That's a major plot hole of them being like, we need this power to kill Godzilla because we don't have anything big enough. To which I'm like, and I just thought about it. In the last movie, there was a point where Godzilla and King Ghidorah are fighting, and they call up the Godzilla people and be like, "Hey, actually, secretly, we've been working on a new bomb to take out Godzilla. In fact, it's gonna take out everything in like a mile radius, like in like a 10-mile radius, and it'll destroy it all." And it almost kills Godzilla. It takes him out for the count. So that means you already have a weapon that can kill Godzilla. Why do you need this power source? Well, to be fair, we find out that the power source thing is a lie. But even still, if I was Alexander Skarsgård, I'd be like, don't you guys have an oxygen bomb? Because my brother was a part of the company that knows about the oxygen bomb. So I don't believe you.
I don't see why. What was his like motivation for agreeing to help them in
His
the first place?
motivation was the plot says I need to get Kong here so he can get this axe for the final fight. So I guess I gotta
so.
do that.
Yeah, this movie was bad.
Didn't they awaken Godzilla too? Like
They awakened him with a nuclear bomb.
right. So
in the
like
last movie.
Godzilla was just chilling in the water, and then they hit him with a nuclear bomb, woke him up, and woke up the other Titans too, if I recall. And then even after that, Godzilla still helped their butts out by like, beating up the other Titans, and then like Godzilla just wants to be left alone.
It's kind of an enemy of my enemy thing because in the last movie, Godzilla was just like, "Look, ain't nobody bigger and badder than me."
I think Godzilla's just like, everybody shut up. You two are creating a mess. You have now really exposed us and where I've been hanging out. And now, like, I gotta get rid of you two.
He has no house now. He's homeless.
I think
right, because they keep trying to go after him. It's like, let Godzilla go back into the water and he'll literally go back to sleep for another like 10,000 years. Like,
I think
he's
movies
just trying
like
to relax.
these movies and like the Snyderverse are just the epitome of like taking the wrong message from something and turning it into like a big cash cow. Like they just took all of like the cool, like the worst parts of Godzilla and turned it into like a franchise.
That's true. I mean, it feels like this. Sorry, Alex.
No, go ahead.
It feels like this is a movie based entirely off of, like I said, the first Godzilla tried to be something.
Yeah.
Like
Godzilla was a movie with a message, and then America saw big monster and then made that the movie.
It's just the 2014 Godzilla even tried to be at least a little bit like.
They only really had like one foot in and 1 foot out, though. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but at least they had a foot in. This one isn't even in the pool. Like this movie is like so far removed from them trying to say anything, do anything, be anything other than, hey, you want to see two CG creatures fight each other that are popular? And that's it.
This was a mix of like 3 movies, though, thinking about it. It had the colors of Pacific Rim, the fighting of Jurassic World, and then the story plot of Batman versus Superman. This is literally those 3 movies combined.
What's even funnier too is that you realize that this is that type of movie when literally there's a point where when Kong is in his throne chilling. I honestly forgot Godzilla was even around because it felt like we were in a separate movie. Meanwhile, Godzilla's up on top destroying like Apex and stuff and trying to like get to Mechagodzilla unbeknownst to him, right? And then literally it's almost like the scriptwriter was like, oh shoot, how many pages I got left? Oh nah, Godzilla and King Kong got to fight. You know what? I'll fix this. And Godzilla burns a hole through the earth with his atomic breath with a direct route for Kong to get up there and fight him.
You guys think the earth is flat in this universe?
And I was just like, it has to be, right?
Right?
Maybe.
Like, flat earthers confuse me.
The earth is actually a cube. It's a series of tubes.
It's a cube. It's just so dumb that it's like that's how they find each other. They don't even meet naturally. You literally had to make a plot device for him to just climb up there and be like, "Oh, it's time for us to fight. All right, cool, let's go."
Should be technically because they're the same. They're not the same monster, but they're the same part of the monster, Titan, whatever. Shouldn't they be able to have another way of like communicating, like I don't know, telepathic vibration hitting the ground?
No, they roar.
Yeah, but that's not what they do. That's not how they like connect. He burns the hole through the ground.
That is how they communicate. Remember that time when Godzilla had his foot on Kong and he got face to face with him? And he
No,
was
that's like
screaming in
after. I'm
Kong's
saying for when
face?
they're like calling each other.
You know, I mean, hey,
Property
listen.
destruction. That's it.
Yeah,
like-
that and roaring. That's how we communicate.
Well, I get like roaring, but like there's no like vibration. A lot of animals talks through vibration. I don't know. Just so
Look,
many
Godzilla's
plot holes
not
in this
Marky
movie.
Mark and the Funky
It
Bunch.
was
All right, he don't have those good vibrations.
Unnecessary. This movie was so unnecessary. It was neon, and it was no actual monster fighting until the end. And even then, it wasn't even the real Godzilla versus Kong. It was just them.
It was, and then Mecha Godzilla showed up, and then they were like, "All right, now we got to team up like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man."
Yeah, but their
Randy
fight didn't
Savage,
even
and
last
give
that
him the chance.
long. The end fight lasted longer. That's the whole thing. The fight that we came to watch, the fight that was supposed to happen to prove who was the the real monster, who was the ruler of them all, who's actually king, didn't happen.
I mean, they kind of proved. I mean, Godzilla won 2 rounds. Kong won 1 round. Then they did a round together against Mecha Godzilla, and at the end of that, Kong got up, but then Godzilla was like, "Sit down, because you don't want no more of this." And Kong was like, "You right. I'm gonna just go back to the hole in the ground that you made back there. I'm gonna just chill out on
Oh my god, dude! You know what this movie was?
Hmm.
This movie was WrestleMania, dude.
Exactly. Exactly.
They were
It's
having
just
the
like
heavyweight
Oh my
the heavyweight
God, it
championship
was.
fight when all of a sudden fucking Randy Orton comes in and does an RKO on Godzilla, and then they have to fight together.
It like
They're
really
teaming up to
really
take down
was.
Mecha Godzilla. He's
They
got the
even
chair.
they even had like freaking props on them too. King Kong's axe,
Yeah.
and they like, oh my god!
Well, I
it
mean,
really
the
was.
last one was, remember when like King Ghidorah and
This
like,
movie
and
was written by
Godzilla are
Vince
fighting,
McMahon.
and then Rodan shows up, and Rodan comes in with the chair, the steel chair, just takes down Godzilla. Then Mothra comes out of nowhere from backstage, and she's just like, "Get away from my man!" And then she comes and joins the fight, and then it becomes all out on like no bars held steel cage match between the monsters.
Hell yeah,
Same
dude.
thing here. This
I
was
used to-
supposed to be
I
a
used
title
to
bout
love-
between 2 monsters, and then Mechagodzilla came in and was like, "Oh, what y'all forgot about me?"
Yeah, this the only thing that would have made this movie much more like watchable for me is if they had like WWE like commentators, you know?
Someone should make an edit of that. Like,
Yeah.
release the
JR
WrestleMania
screaming
cut,
into my left ear.
the Vince
That'd have been so
McMahon
good.
cut.
That,
Where's
yeah,
that?
no, that would have probably added,
JR.
substance to it. Actually,
Hell yeah.
it could have
Would've been
reminded us
fun.
what they were supposed to actually be like fighting for and fighting against, or like fighting. Why are they fighting? They're fighting
just
because
are.
everybody's pissed off because they like these fucking humans woke us
They're
up.
fighting because that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said
Stone
so.
Cold said so.
Pretty much.
Here's
Pretty
the
much.
thing. They're fighting because they're animal. Like, that's the other thing too. Their motivation for fighting,
Toxic
is-
masculinity.
basically, it's just like, hey, Godzilla's like,
Hence why
I'm
they have
king.
the
I'm the
Apex
biggest
team.
and baddest there is. And King
They
Kong's
literally
like,
put
who
Apex
said
team.
he's the baddest there is? I wish you would.
Says
And then
who?
That's literally what they do at the standoffs when
Yeah.
they do their singular interviews.
The backstage
He's
interviews.
like, next Tuesday, you're gonna see me coming for him. He's no longer going to be the king. Jesus Christ, that's actually.
Let me
a
tell you
better
something, Godzilla. Let me tell you something.
Brother.
Next week, brother, I'm gonna bring my axe, and then it's gonna be on.
It's
You're
not gonna
not-
be a bloodbath.
It's gonna be a bloodbath. You're gonna know what pain. I know what the menu for the fight's gonna be. The only menu item's gonna be pain, with a side order of shame.
Yeah, the commentary honestly would have probably made it a lot better, more watchable.
Oh yeah.
I love wrestling when I was
No
little.
substitutions.
Suddenly this is a much better movie already.
It is like
We
I'm
could've
actually
written this
enjoying.
movie.
I'm now enjoying it, thinking about that.
Fucking
I think
hell,
about
dude.
just like King Kong going like.
I need to go up to Warner Brothers and ask them to give me $70 million for reshoots and We got a movie, dude.
No, we got to get the
Honestly-
no, Rob. What we have to do is get Twitter on our side so that they can have us release
Bully
the first ones to
WB.
die cut of
Oh, yeah.
Kong versus
I agree.
Godzilla.
We don't have to bully Twitter. We just got to get it out there.
No, we can need to
Creating
get
a
Twitter to
purpose.
be the bullies. That
Oh
seems
yeah,
to be
Twitter.
the way it
Twitter's
works.
got a bully.
You know, all
And
those
you know what? We'll find a way. We'll ask J.J. Abram to like direct, and he can just put Cloverfield attached to the end, and there we go.
There it is.
We're part of 2 MonsterVerse sagas.
Put a slusho cart in the background of
That's
any
right.
scene,
Yeah.
and we're good.
and we're good. We're golden.
Or at the end, it just suddenly turns into handheld cameras. Like there we go, Cloverfield style going on.
All right. Just to wrap it up here, Rob, do you have any final thoughts and opinions about this movie? And we do a letter grade for the reviews, so out of like A through Z, I guess. What is your letter grade for this movie?
A through Z? What the hell? What?
I only say
What
A
kind of
through
a
Z
grade is
because I
that?
gave what was it called? What was the movie, Alex?
Which
Uh,
so many.
Fantasy Island is Z.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You really ate it.
That was not a good movie.
That was not a good
It's
movie.
trash
I
movie.
enjoyed the end when we found. I didn't link who Tattoo was, which I don't know why, because they kept calling him Tattoo. My brain did not just connect the two. I enjoyed that ending scene. The literal last 10 minutes of the whole movie. I
But
was
Rob,
really wait, that really quick. I was really upset because like Lauren was gonna come with us, but it was considered a horror movie, and she can't really handle like blood and gore. So
And it wasn't even a horror movie.
yeah, and I was like, okay, so
it was barely
like,
a horror
I
That
movie.
was
lucky
like-
son of a gun.
I told her, I'm like, I want you to come, but I know how you are with these movies, so I'm like, probably better not. And I was so pissed when I was telling her about it. I'm like, there wasn't even a drop of blood anywhere. I'm like, the only scary scenes that happened off camera. I'm like, you could have been totally fine. You could have been there. I was so mad that she
What's funny is Rob, like for context, Rob was there when we all saw Fantasy Island together.
yeah. It was a movie.
Um,
Anyway, Rob, what's your letter
but
grade?
yeah, what's your final thoughts and letter grade?
This movie sucked. I didn't like it. I don't. I guess I'll give it an M for mediocre.
And that's lower than an F, so that
And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
because Godzilla says so.
I really want that commentary now. That would be,
I want it to.
that would just make it
You know
because
what
it's
we'll do,
also
Alex?
that type of movie too. Because it's like this is made for people who just want to see the fighting of the monster, even though there's no like I think there could have been more.
You know what we'll do,
Does it-
Alex? We'll try and like rip the movie, and we'll just make our own commentary over the film, like all the fights.
I think that's great. We'll just get the scenes that actually mattered.
There you go.
Go ahead, Alex. What do you got?
I'll give it like a D, mainly because like if you watch the other two, it's kind of like one of those things. Well, I watched the other two. I feel like I need to watch this one. I still have a real problem with that neon shit going on. Like none of that was necessary. I don't know why everything was so purple and pink.
I felt like the neon stuff at least made it more. It made it easier for me to watch because like the fight in the water, I was like, I don't know. I didn't care for it really. And the final fight, like during the day, I didn't
just-
care for that either. I had a
it
hard
just-
time caring and paying attention to the fight scenes.
It just
The neon lights at least like
the
drew
neon
my eye
lights
there.
all just reminded me of like a 13-year-old's Instagram who's finally figured out the filters and now everything's like either
What, you weren't-
saturated or neon.
Were you never 13,
pink.
Alex?
I wore like one black sweater the entire time I was like a teenager. My room was like a horrible red. I don't know what my mom allowed me to paint my. Anyway, I give it like a D, as in like watch it because there is the conclusion of it. You know, it's finally ended. You know, it's
Don't
kind of
watch
one of
this
those stick
movie.
with it. I think if you want to stick with it, it's not something I'm gonna watch again, ever, or even probably think about after we're done. I'm still upset by the mecha thing because I thought it was like Mecha and God. Honestly, I did.
You gonna
And
die
I
on
was
that
like,
hill?
you supposed I'm gonna die on the hill. I heard Mecha, I thought God.
You're
If you forget my
you're
sister-in-law
wrong.
is like
You are
on
wrong.
point for my mind. It's like then why didn't you just call it? Why is it also like Mecha Godzilla? So you're calling it Mechanical Godzilla?
Yes,
That's what he
call it-
is.
You could have
or
freaking called it
mechanical
like
Godzilla.
Hecky Godzilla or
You
like
realize this is that was like its original name back when it
Back in like
first-
what was it, like the 70s?
Yeah, it's like the 70s, like or 80s, like Japanese version of the movie. That's
yeah,
what
I'm
they called
gonna
it.
criticize them too.
All right.
I don't care
There's a
where it's from.
dude in a suit, by the way. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, an Apex student is. Anyway, the movie was stupid. It was stupid. It was unnecessarily colorful. There was not enough fighting, and it's just a colorful version of Batman versus Superman. Is what I stand on.
Yeah,
So-
because Zack Snyder he's Keller killed his family, so
You guys should watch Godzilla
he's
Jr.
against color for some reason.
after this movie. You should
Actually,
watch...
you know, I just realized that was a little insensitive. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, dude. Like, it's not the time for that.
No, just in reference, like I'm sorry. I know it's still
Yeah,
early since his
still
daughter
going.
passed, so I apologize for that.
Yeah,
Um,
he's still going through stuff. Anyway, what was your grade?
But my grade and final thoughts on this movie are I do give it a D as well. But for different reasons. I think here's the thing. If you want to see Godzilla and Kong fight and that's literally it, sure. You'll find enjoyment out of this movie because they do. They fight a couple times, couple different instances, and in two different locations. So you get at least your money's worth in that department.
Why did
However,
Godzilla just bite his throat out?
I
He's
don't
got
know.
those teeth. He could literally.
Never
'Cause he
got
fights-
close. He always bit his arms.
Fights with honor. That's why.
Screw that. I'd go for the jugular. Go on, Jerome.
But however, the issue with this movie is that it's everything else is ridiculously boring or lazy or dumb. And there's never anything but those one of those three, sometimes all three at the same time. Like, so it's just it feels like they've like, and what's sad too is that it feels like as this franchise has gone on, the lazier and lazier they have been with trying to give you anything else that you want to watch in this movie past the monsters. And now we're at a point where this is supposed to be like the epic finale. Like we've got a movie with Kong, we've had 2 movies with Godzilla. This is supposed to be like the epic final clash. And it doesn't really feel that way. It feels very lackluster in that way, mostly because past the monsters who don't talk to each other because, you know, they don't talk. Like, it's just, it's the equivalent of going to the park and watching dogs fight. Like, they're dogs. They're only going to do but so much. So it's like it's the same thing here. It's like Kong's only going to use his fists and feet. Godzilla's only going to use his claws and atomic breath. That's all they can do.
Like, he has a tail and, like, again, the teeth.
I
He
mean,
can literally just bite his neck and make him
uses
bleed.
the tail too, but the point is that for a movie like this to really work, and I feel like, and like, you know, sell as big as you possibly want, as big as I guess they want it to sell, you need something else in there. You need these human characters to kind of matter. It maybe not be like the smartest people in the room, maybe not even be the most interesting people in the room, but they need to matter, and they don't feel like they matter. I did not really care about any of the conflicts that any of these human characters had in this movie. I at least cared a little bit about Bryan Cranston in the first Godzilla in 2014 Godzilla movie, and cared a little bit about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Here, all these people could be eradicated, and I would not have Godzilla could have burned them all with his atomic breath. Kong could have stepped on his team, and nothing would have changed for me. As far as
Also, wasn't Alexander Skarsgård's character like a geologist and like a map maker? What the hell was he doing hanging around King Kong?
No, he's science. He's science man. He can do it all. You know,
he's supposed to be playing with, and like, I just came into my head. He was making maps, and he like was doing what was he doing with King Kong?
He wrote a book about how he theorized that there was a land of these giant monsters underneath the surface of the earth.
But again, that is map making and talking about landscaping and, like, again, geology. Why was he like working with the animal?
Because they think
wasn't-
he can find it. Like he theorized that Kong could lead them to it. And so he's like, and he's the only one that knows.
They
What
didn't
our-
even pick the proper scientist though. They didn't really even have like
well, his brother died. and he was
zoologist.
Another person that could have been taking them there.
Oh my god, because there's no other people that ever work with animals. You only can work with family.
No, Alex, it's not about the animals. It's about the fact that he knows a lot about Hollow Earth in particular. So if they go into that environment, he knows how to handle them.
They should still have somebody who knows more about like, because King Kong is technically just a giant ape.
That's why
Somebody
Rebecca
said-
Hall was there. She's there to be like the Kong manager.
Yeah, but now I'm reading the description. She's just a linguistic person.
Yeah, and she can talk to him.
There's
No
still nobody
sci-
actual scientists
That's
about
the other
animals.
thing. I
One's
just
a
thought about-
linguistic and one's a geologist.
You brought up another thing. No one knew he knew sign language. He's in a surveillance dome, not just, a zoo or something. He's in a whole dome. You're telling me there's no cameras up there that caught this giant gorilla talking to this little girl using sign language? It's sign language. The only way to communicate
Come on,
is
this
visually.
this is America. Big Brother's everywhere.
I'm more
That's what I'm saying.
concerned about how unsupervised that little girl was.
Right?
That was also
no, that
a
was
major
dangerous.
concern. Here's the
She's
other
just
thing,
having
too.
whole conversations with Big Monkey with no one around to see.
The mom was a anthropological linguistic person.
There,
Is
yeah.
it?
So she's manager for Kong. The point is that at the end of the day, none of these people matter. They missed a huge opportunity, by the way, of not making Alexander Skarsgård's brother Tom Hiddleston. Could have connected the dots there for Kong Skull Island.
Well, no, because he was too.
He just
Tom
be his
Hiddleston
older
was back in
brother.
the 70s.
Yeah, he'd be his older brother.
Yeah, but he was like 30, 40 in the 70s.
yeah, okay. You
That
act like
doesn't
old people
work.
can't still make babies.
It
I
could
mean,
have
by
been
old,
like
I mean
his like
parents.
father or something would have been
Or that too. That would have been a
probably
greater,
be better plot,
connection.
which
Yeah.
shows why he wants to be so connected to this, even though he has none of the actual workings to work with a giant ape.
The
They
point
needed like
is-
Jane Goodall. Point
that,
is, don't watch this
movie.
movie.
Was a
Don't do
huge
it.
missed opportunity. The MonsterVerse, at least they got a verse. I mean,
Look, just
I-
like here's the advice to all the listeners: just go to the last like 45 minutes.
and
If
you'll
you
get what
wanna
want.
really- yeah,
if
just
you
watch-
wanna see
just watch
Godzilla
that.
Kong fight, watch that, and
then you can see them
the fight.
Find the the
Because
mecha whatever.
Literally, you could skip all the rest of that, and you would not feel any different.
You
It's
wouldn't.
just like watching a lot of the it's like watching Iron Fist all over again. Skip half the whole thing, and you won't miss a thing.
Just watch something
Thank
better.
Go
yeah.
back to Skull Island. I enjoyed Skull Island a
Watch
Go back to
lot.
Kong
school.
Skull Island. That's the better movie.
That is a good one. They showed more monsters, what they were capable of,
You know what?
and they also showed like the bones and stuff.
read a book. How about you read a book?
Read a book.
Read a
Also
book
better
instead.
option.
You know what? The Martian is my favorite book.
What are you guys reading right now?
I just picked up the Scarlet Witch series from that they did, I think 2 or 3 years ago, when it was all new, all different Marvel. So I'm reading that, and it's the whole story
Nerd.
as a trade. So I'm looking forward
Nice.
to reading that.
Was it
I'm
better
fi-
than this movie?
Probably.
It's starting. I mean, I already had the first issue, so I know, like as a single issue, so I know it's going to be better than this movie.
What about you, Alex?
I'm reading like 2 different things. I'm reading the Sandman by Neil Gaiman,
Nice.
which I'm really enjoying. I didn't think I'd enjoy it so much. And then I'm also reading Depraved. It is the true horror story of H.H. Holmes.
Of who?
H.H. Holmes, he's the first serial killer in America. He's the
Sick.
one that built that whole hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
The Murder
Chi-
Hotel.
Chicago World's Fair.
Nice.
What about, are you reading anything, Rob?
Yeah, I'm currently reading The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. It's a philosophical essay arguing against suicide from an absurdist perspective. It's pretty good. And then Lauren gave me Catcher in the Rye. I'm going to get to that after
I don't
this.
like Catcher in the Rye.
I haven't read it, but it's a gap for me, so I'm going to get around to it.
This review has just gone all over the place.
Well, because the movie wasn't much to review.
We've talked about
The movie wasn't much to review.
talking about
Yeah.
Cloverfield.
You guys want to talk about absurdism? I got a lot of opinions about that recently.
And this is where we need to end the podcast because we'll keep going.
All right.
Before we get started, we'll let you go first, Rob. What if any social medias do you have that the people can follow you on and learn about absurdism?
Let me see. Robert's an Idiot on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Although I just recently got banned from Twitter for 7 days, so there's not going to be anything on there recently. I don't know when this podcast is going up, but yeah, I do music and stuff mostly on there. That's pretty much the only thing I really post on there.
Cool. Alex?
I am mainly on the Instagram, Alex and Nobody. And then I handle the TikTok account for the podcast, which is First Ones to Die.
And you can follow me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram, also at Robos and Media on Instagram as well. And you can also, of course, follow First Ones to Die once again on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the social media stuffs at the First Ones to Die. Thanks a lot for listening in.
Oh, really quick. And even though he's not here, you can follow Jonathan at Jonathan Keys on pretty much all social platforms as well.
Mm-hmm.
May his soul rest in peace.
He'll be back next week. Stop trying
next
to
week. In fact, we're gonna finally have a follow-up to that trivia episode. Next week we're reviewing Serial Mom, so be on the lookout for that. That's gonna be a great time. Thank you, Rob, for joining us.
We appreciate it.
Fun.
Thank you for having me.
It's fun having you on. Hope to do it again sometime.
Cool. Yeah, maybe so.
And if you're mad at us for not liking Godzilla versus Kong,
get over it.
That's a you problem. And
seriously,
I have
I would like somebody to message us who did enjoy the movie. Like, I need to know, and then I need to know your life, because why did you enjoy this film?
Watch better stuff.
I'm kidding.
But anyway, take care, you guys. Have a good day or night whenever you listen to this podcast. And we will see you for the next one.
Bye.
Bye.